So for those of you who aren't familiar with Apptainer, let me give a little introduction. It was formerly known as Singularity, and it simplifies the creation and execution of containers. So that ensures the software components are encapsulated for portability and reproducibility. So I mean, containers were more introduced with Docker originally, but a lot of HPC systems, so users were starting to want to use containers on HPC systems, but Docker had too many performance issues and other issues, and so this is what was inspired Singularity to be invented in the first place. So by default, in Apptainer, containers are stored in a single file, and then these get mounted, the contents of it gets mounted on the node itself. And that actually, I think, was one of the most important reasons why Apptainer's popularity grew very quickly on HPC systems in the first place, is because of all these nodes that have no disk of their own, and they're all using a shared file system. And when these huge numbers of files in the containers, it was really overloading the metadata servers. So this moves all the metadata operations to the nodes, and that's a very important part of it. So now in the early days, these types of operations, the mounting on the node and several other things that required enhanced privileges. So it was originally set UID root only, but Apptainer is no longer set UID root by default. It still has some features that you can only get when you install the set UID root program portion of it. But so instead, it's mostly based on a single user ID and a user namespace, unprivileged namespace, and uses fuse mounts. Now, it is able to easily import from Docker, other OCI container systems, but since its emphasis is on scientific applications and ease of use, to be able to easily start it up and integrate into your HPC system, it's intentionally not fully compatible with OCI. And so there are certain things that we decided not to make. There are some options you can make to make it a little bit more compatible, but you don't always automatically run everything you can convert from a Docker container. Doesn't necessarily run under Apptainer. It does also support encryption and signing of container files, and it is quite widely used on HPC systems. It's also in high throughput computing systems, which is where my background is. In the high energy physics, we use distributed computers all over the world, and having the high throughput computing is more urgent to us than the high performance of a single machine. And and just going to point out that most at least the large HTC projects, we don't even use the single file format. We use instead we use them unpacked, and we call it the sandbox format, as what Apptainer calls it, and we use the CERN VM file system distributed for that, which has the same really nice feature of all that metadata operations is on the node. The same as when you mount a single CIF file, but all the files are loaded on demand instead, and so it's really, really good for distributing very quickly all over the place, all over the world. So the current status is that Apptainer's feature set is quite mature. We don't actually have any major developments planned. We are focused on making sure that we maintain security and just maintenance as things change. We want to keep up with operating systems and hardware, and then bug fixes. We have minor new features and then and minor enhancements to existing features. So Apptainer's relationship with the HPSF. So Singularity was originally written by Greg Kurtzer while he was at LBNL, so it's like 10 years ago. But then 4 years ago, we joined the Linux Foundation, probably 3.5 years ago already. And at that point, that's when the name changed. That was because in the meantime, a company that Greg had founded to maintain Singularity, then he left the company. They made a fork. They called Singularity CE. Now there's all kinds of confusion. Is it Singularity? Is it Singularity CE? And so the Linux Foundation wanted to be able to copyright all the logos and the names and everything. I got to pick a new name, so that's where we came up with Apptainer. But since we were already in the Linux Foundation then, when HPSF started, it was a natural for us to say, hey, yeah, that's a really good fit for us. And we were a charter member and a natural progression. So. And we expect the HPSF to give our project increased visibility and enable us to better promote other quality software that works well with us and on HPCs. And we continue to be active on the TAC as our plan and hold community meetings with conferences like this, like we were planning to do on Wednesday. So. Any questions?
Okay. So whilst Apptainer's not going to be implementing full OCI compatibility, etc., how well does Apptainer integrate with existing container orchestration and management solutions that are out there?
Yeah, then right, we don't depend on container orchestration for that, right? It's more like you use job management systems to start up all the containers, like Slurm and such, rather than having like a Kubernetes to start them all, because yeah, it's a different target. Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, one in the back.
Yeah, and there's also Podman. We figure Podman is a good project for OCI, unprivileged OCI. So we don't really need to compete with that.
You say other quality software for HPC. I know that containers are used a lot in AI/ML, and they have slightly different container workflows than Apptainer. Do you have plans on how you want to work to unify those, or?
You said AI?
Yeah.
No, we don't have any major feature requests that have been specifically asked to be for AI. Now there is for example, there's an open issue now from I think it's from someone from Intel for their new what they call it HPU. They call it an HPU. I don't know what the H stands for, but it's specifically for AI processing, a coprocessor. And so they have contributed. It's in the works right now, trying to a new option to Apptainer to easily import the HPU interface for Gaudi. I think they call it their Gaudi system. So yeah, we intend to keep up with hardware. So if we want to get so that can be easily imported into the container. But as far as like the orchestration stuff, we consider that to be another layer that we don't need to interface with. It's more like for batch systems. But yeah.
Other questions? Okay, since we're all in the same room, I'm going to, and Dave's a little early, I think we can just move on to the next speaker. So let's hear it for Dave, and Reed's next.